Perhaps I can wrap it up, if I possibly can, with a story that took place in our state recently. Back in November and December, we were going through the state football playoffs, and our neighbor to the north was reaping havoc upon all that they played. And they were preparing to play a team that had to play somebody else. Because you see, there was another team in our area that seemed to be just as tough. North Mesquite was running rampant over everybody they played against. They were 11-0, and it looked like they were going to be undefeated until perhaps they faced that undefeated team in Plano. And everybody knew this was the state showdown. But North Mesquite had to play Cypress Fairbanks. Cy Fair was only 9-3 in record. They had a good ball team, but certainly they were not the quality of North Mesquite. Those guys played beyond themselves. And in the final few minutes of the game, the score was tied 21-21. Now, those of you who are familiar with the Texas playoff system, you realize that if a game ends in a tie, then they go to a system of breaking the tie to determine who wins. They look at the number of penetrations each team has had. A penetration is how many times that team has gotten inside the other team's 20-yard line. And then if the penetrations are equal, then they go to how many first downs each team has had. And if the first downs are equal, then they go to the number of yards each one has gained. Hopefully there will not be a tie there. In the final few minutes, the score was tied 21-21. Cypress Fairbanks had 5 penetrations. North Mesquite had 4. Cypress Fairbanks had more first downs than North Mesquite. So by all other criteria, if the game had ended right there, Cy Fair would have won it. But North Mesquite had the ball on their own 8-yard line, and they began to drive, churning out yard after yard, first down after first down. And on that drive, they exceeded Cy Fair in first downs. But still, there was the greater criteria, and that was penetrations. Then suddenly, North Mesquite went inside the 20-yard line. The ball was at the 16. Now they were tied in penetrations, 5-5. But the story was tied in score, tied in penetrations, but North Mesquite had more first downs. And if the game ended right there, they would win it. The coach had the wisdom, Warren Trahan, of knowing what was happening. He called timeout, called his team over to the side. He said, "Boys, I don't have time to explain this to you. And it's going to go against everything that you've ever been taught. It's going to go against every instinct within your system. But I want you to let North Mesquite score a touchdown. Try to knock the ball out of the hands if you can and recover it if you do. But if you don't, let them go in and score, because time is more important than score right now. They've won the game if it ended right now. Just let them score, and we'll take it from there." How would you like to be an athlete going back on the field, having played your heart out to do everything you could to stop the opposition, and suddenly even your own coach has turned against you, and he's saying, "Let them score, let them score." But he was their coach. He'd carried them all the way through the season, and he had done his best job and made them who they are. And in that trust of their coach, they did what he said. The other team ran the ball up the middle. They made dashes at the ball, but they let the runner go in, and he scored the touchdown. They kicked the extra point. North Mesquite leading 28-21. A minute and 56 seconds left on that clock when North Mesquite kicked the ball off, and Cy Fair received it and ran it back to the 29-yard line, 71 yards from the goal. And they began to grind it out. One time they had 4th down and about 13 yards to go. Quarterback threw a 23-yard pass, first down. As they went down that field, they found themselves now on the 26-yard line. And in that drive, they had already gone ahead, North Mesquite, in first downs, but not penetrations, and certainly not score. Quarterback went to pass, Trevor Spradley. He was flushed out of the pocket. He went around in. He was stopped on the 19-yard line. They were inside the 20. They were now ahead in penetrations, but not in score. He went back and threw a pass, 13 yards. They went back and ran a play down to the 1-yard line. And with 6 seconds left on the clock, they went into the end zone. They kicked the extra point. They tied the score, 28-28. But they now had 6 penetrations, and the other team had 5. And they beat the unbeatable. They defeated the undefeated. All because a group of boys were willing to say, "You're my coach. And if you tell me to do what I don't really understand to do, I'll do it. Because you're the only coach I've got." Oh, it would have been easier for them to say, "But look, we're the team, you aren't. We're the ones who have broken our hearts out here playing. We're the ones who've given every bit of energy trying to succeed. And you're telling us to lose the game? Forget it. We may lose the game, but we're going to go down fighting. We're going to prove who we are in this." And they could have proven who they were and lost the game in the process. But when they were willing to put the advice of their coach first and say, "No, we don't understand what you're telling us. If you say for us to do it, we've bled and been willing to die for you all year, and we'll do it once again, Coach, because we don't think you're going to forsake us now, and if you say it, we'll do it." And he said it. They did. And then they ran play after play, called by that coach, until finally, in tying the game, they won in the end. Is that not what our Lord is saying to us? Look, just let me be your coach. Be willing to listen to what I say. Be willing to accept it as what is best. And then with me as the one who's calling the signals in your life, just do what you are designed to do, and all these things will be added unto, like the victory at the end. The great thing about it is that when he's first, and his way is the only way in your life, you don't want a whole lot of other things, because you got all the things that really count. His way is the only way if we're going to win. It's a lonely way sometimes, because it's a path that no one else seems to want to take at certain times. But Jesus took it when nobody else would, and he became the one who conquered death. And through him we become more than conquerors if we'll just let our God call the shots and our Christ lead us to victory. We come to that lonely way now. But sometimes it's the most conspicuous thing that you'll ever do is step out in an aisle in a church and walk down the front. You're the only one doing that. You're lonely in the doing of it. But how many times do people say, "I took that first step and suddenly there was a presence with me that followed me all the way," and it was him. He was there with me when I started. He was there with me with every step. He was there waiting when I got there. He's the one that made the difference. If you're willing to say, "He's my coach," if you're willing to say, "Christ is my quarterback," and in that secular way of looking at great spiritual truth, say, "I'm on his team. He's number one. Whatever he wants me to do, I'll do it." And in that way, and in this moment, if you'll say it now, then he'll make his difference in you and lead you on to final victory. I'm going to ask you to take a hymn book and turn to hymn number 347. It's different from the one that's listed in your bulletin. We'll sing those words in a few moments. I surrender all. All to Jesus I surrender. All to him I freely give. I will ever love him, trust him, in his presence daily live. I surrender all. For some of you, it's to put God first for the first time in your life. For some of you, it's to follow his righteousness as you've not been willing to follow before. For others, it's to put your life in his family, on his team, so that together we can do what individually we can never do. For someone else, it's a commitment to purpose. The reason why God gave you life and has placed your life here today. But whatever it is, there's only one thing to do, and that's to give all to Him who gave all to you. It'll be lonely, that first step, but that will be the only step that will be. Would you come and give your life to Christ and His church now? I'll stand to receive your decision and ask you to come as we stand to sing.